We will tear your souls apart.
Hello everyone, I'm Wolfman Sam, here with my partner Johnny Buff Guns.
Hello.
And we are Creatures of the Night. I hope everyone's doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Evil Dead. We're going to go through all 3 movies and possibly the remake. I'm not entirely sure. You want to cover the remake?
I saw the remake. I'll dive into that. And also the Evil Dead Rise, the recent one that came out 3 years ago.
Right. Those movies, the last 2, the remake and Rise, I have not seen.
This is going to be a groovy podcast.
Yes, it's going to be
groovy. Sorry guys, I couldn't help myself.
Oh, that's okay. And I'll also briefly talk about the video games as well.
Yeah,
because I've been...
And comic books, too.
Yes, comic books as well. I've been personally streaming on Twitch Evil Dead Regeneration, which is kind of the unofficial sequel to Evil Dead. It's basically the lost Evil Dead 4, which is... It's kind of like, if anybody remembers Jak and Dexter, it's like Jak and Dexter meets Evil Dead, but we'll get into that. But first, we'll get into the movies, of course.
Yes, to start off, we talk about the first Evil Dead from 1981, directed by none other than unknown Sam Raimi, who later directed films like Darkman, A Simple Plan, and the Spider-Man film, which we all know he did later on in his career as a film director. And this was the film that really jump-started his career.
Right. And I have to touch upon, before we get into Evil Dead, I have to touch upon that, Evil Dead was basically a germ idea that was kind of realized with Evil Dead. It started with a college film that they did called Within the Woods.
Yes, you're right.
It's like a precursor, and you can find it on YouTube. It is in terrible video quality.
I've tried to watch it on YouTube or other. I can barely tell what's going on. I really
right. So diehard Evil Dead fans, if you want to find Within the Woods, just fair warning, you can find it, but it's not restored or anything like that. That would actually be a great fan project. If someone would want to restore Within the Woods.
For what I've heard, the reason why Sam Raimi's never released it on a Blu-ray DVD bonus feature because who owns that movie?
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the legal stuff once we get into
Evil Dead 2. It's interesting to for history, wow, this is where it all started with Evil Dead before the full length.
Right, you see the genesis of everything. And like I said, much like the first Evil Dead movie, Within the Woods is surprisingly, from what you can tell from the kind of shot on Shidio VHS, as I like to call it. It's still very, very confident. These you got to remember, this was Sam Raimi, unknown Sam Raimi, and unknown Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell is part of Within the Woods.
Yes.
They were college kids. And
I think they were in high school. They knew. I know they
was it high? Did it actually go back further in high school Within the Woods?
High school, something like that.
Okay, so
whereas Evil Dead was college for them.
Yeah, even more impressive. So Within the Woods was high school era. That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Well, because they were high school buddies, they made short movies together, especially Three Stooges, which we'll get into later eventually.
Right. Three Stooges, believe it or not, is sort of a influence on the later Evil Dead movies.
Yes.
But we'll get into that.
We'll get into that soon. Let's talk about the first Evil Dead film from 1981. What do you think of Evil Dead?
It's definitely, in terms of anybody who's looking to break out into film and is worried about, I need a big budget, no. You don't need any of that. You just need a vision, a good vision, and sort of a way to do your effects. Because the effects in Evil Dead 1... Yes, they're a little dated in places.
To a degree, but I still think they're very impressive for a guy who was a nobody at the time, and he did what he could to manage.
You have to keep in mind, Sam Raimi and company and Bruce Campbell were completely unknown. This was You said it was college.
Yeah, college.
College film.
I remember the first time I saw Evil Dead when I was getting into horror movies. My dad was like showing me a lot of classics to catch up, and he showed me Evil Dead. He's like, "Oh, the guy who did Spider-Man directed this film. He was a college student at the time." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And my first viewing, I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing!"
Yes,
Impressive.
yeah.
Like,
and like I said, it is a perfect example for any upcoming film.
right. It was probably one of the first, maybe horror films I learned about where it was shot at a low budget with limited money, limited resources.
Right.
It's possible to make a movie no matter what your limits or resources are.
And just to hammer it home, if you're coming from like Army of Darkness or any of the previous stuff first, like when I was a kid, I saw Army of Darkness first.
Right.
This is night and day. Evil Dead 1 is gory, unapologetic,
it is
frightening, and
it is.
It is definitely the darkest in the series.
Oh, it is, and especially how compared to this and the rest of this year, the first one is full out of all straight horror. There's no.
Oh yeah, and gory. It's very gory.
Yeah, no, my first viewing, I was freaked out with it, especially when the girl goes out in the woods, she gets raped by a tree. I'm like, holy crap!
Right. There's rape in this and stuff.
It's one of those things that you never expect.
It goes full NC-17.
Pretty much. Yeah,
it really does. Before NC-17, I think was a thing.
I don't know when that was around, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. I don't know the whole history of rating systems at that time.
And what's really interesting is on the DVD, you actually get commentary from the man himself, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, true. Which I have to watch and check that out. I'm sure it's a blast.
Yeah, I have, and it is hilarious. And
right,
Bruce himself tells you just how low budget everything was.
Well, there's also an interview I like to watch with even though I've seen it a couple times, I always like to go back to a refresher. It was 1982, when the film was getting publicity and stuff. It was, I don't know who he was being interviewed by, but it was still a fun interview to listen to Sam Raimi about his idea and how he came up with this simple premise of a horror film that just came to him out of nowhere. And of course knowing Sam Raimi, he's quite the goofball in a good way. He's a very fun guy to listen to.
Yeah, and it's just it's one of those films that really stands the test of time.
Oh, it does. He just took a simple concept about these. I think they're college students. They're not. I think they don't really explain it. They're college or high school students, but the point is, a bunch of friends are going in a cabin in the woods for a getaway, but it turned out to be hell for them that night, is what they did not expect.
Right.
Especially when they go in the basement, finding the tape recorder of some professor or scientist who was recording about evil. They find the book of Necronomicon and stuff, and all hell breaks loose. Yeah.
Right.
It's just a simple premise that works very well. It doesn't try. I mean, it tries well, but it doesn't try too hard to the extreme.
Yeah, and the character difference of the main character, like I said, this is for the hardcore Evil Dead fans.
Yeah,
it's an interesting analysis of Ash Williams as a character, because in the first Evil Dead movie, he is a complete coward. He is a complete coward.
If you listen closely, they call him Ashley, not Ash.
Right. They call him Ashley by the full name.
Right. I still call him Ash though.
But he is not the Ash character that you see later in the sequels.
No.
And it's just an interesting kind of character development that.
Right. When you say he's a coward, when you say he's a coward, when you think about it, he hesitates because he has no choice but to kill his girlfriend, his sister, and he's
right. But in terms of, if you're looking for the Ash Williams that we all know and love, it's sort of kind of growing pains from 1 to 2 at least.
Right.
I just want to take a minute just to talk about the effects.
Right.
The effects in this movie are awesome. You have stop motion. You have reverse footage stuff. That's how they did the whole scene with the tree. They filmed everything in reverse. They filmed everything in reverse, and then they reversed it or something like that. I might be explaining it terribly.
That's okay.
The coolest thing, though, and one of the most funny kind of bits of trivia I found out, the famous evil point of view camera shots were actually, believe it or not, done by Sam Raimi and company, literally taking a dolly that is a camera on wheels and literally just running through the woods.
Right. That's the other thing about
really
this.
Funny. And the scene where, and spoiler alert, like I said, anybody coming in, we're expecting that you kind of seen these movies already, that you're familiar.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for a 40-something-year-old.
The movie came out in 81, so it's like this movie's 44 years old.
Yeah, well, we're talking about all of them, so.
Right, true, very true.
But yeah, hopefully you guys, have obviously seen these movies, and that's why you clicked on this video.
Right.
But, it's things like that. The one scene in particular that I actually found pretty amazing was the scene where, in the first movie, the evil busts through the window. What you don't know about that window, it is not sugar glass. It is not a fake window. They burst through that window. That window was real glass. So when they did that was for a shoot. That was real.
Right. Well, especially that was shot like in some cabin in the middle of nowhere, and
yeah. It's one of those things. But is there anything you want to add?
Wait, let me see. Well, here's one. Here's one. The part when they go in the basement, they find the tape recorder. There's a ripped poster of The Hills Have Eyes. That's basically been like ongoing since this movie. Like Wes Craven and Sam Raimi mocking or ripping off each other.
Yeah, like kind of giving like sort of nods, like non-antagonistic nods.
In The Hills Have Eyes, there's a post. I mean, it's not an actual Jaws post, but that's the idea, though. But I guess Wes Craven could not get a Jaws poster for that scene with the ripped Jaws poster. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, it is.
Interesting. All right. Is there anything you want to talk about Evil Dead 1?
Let's see. Oh yeah, like the part, like I thought it was funny, like when like before all this chaos, like Ash is like like pretends he's sleeping, and then like has a nice gift for his girlfriend.
Yeah, and that gift kind of becomes sort of the MacGuffin throughout the necklace. Right. We'll talk about that as we get more into the second one. But it does serve as a major plot point in the first one as well.
That's true, and also like his his friend Scotty's kind of a jerk too.
Right. Yeah, like in terms of Ash's friends, they're all kind of dicks.
Yeah, to a degree. Ash, I think, is the only one that's a little bit like gentleman-like to some degree. Right,
and again, this is like I said, growing pains.
Right.
This incarnation of Ash isn't necessarily the wisecracking Ash that we all know and love.
Right.
I said, growing pains.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right. And also, like with being called Deadites, they're sort of like possessed zombies, but they speak and have like all this dark humor talk.
Right. There's a clear difference between a Deadite and a zombie. A Deadite is more of a demon.
Right. That's true. Than
a zombie.
Right.
Down to the whole possession.
Right. A little bit different than The Exorcist.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. It was more like the when they read the book, all hell broke loose.
Yep. Yeah. That is why you don't ever play that tape.
Right, exactly.
Or recite the book.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, no. Which I'm going to talk about later on with Evil Dead Rise as a little joke with that. You'll see.
Right.
Right. And like you said, with all the camera tricks, like this film, like I don't know, like this was the first, but it had like such unique camera tricks that like people were inspired from this film.
Oh yeah, like the inspiration, what this film inspired. Like it's untouchable.
Right.
Without this movie, I don't think we would have a lot of modern zombie movies or modern possession movies.
No, that's true.
I do know the film, and this is a criminally obscure film. This film called Deathgasm that takes heavy inspiration from Evil Dead. It's kind of like if you take black metal and mix with Evil Dead. You'll get something comedic like Deathgasm, but it's films like that. So many different other films that were inspired by Evil Dead, possibly even Dario Argento's Demons.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yes, I could. It's hard to.
I don't know which came first, because didn't they come out the same?
No, Demons came out, I think, in like the mid '80s or something like that.
Like, I don't remember. I want to say either Demons came out first or after Evil Dead. I'm not sure.
Demons came out after Evil Dead.
Okay, so, well, if that's true, then it obviously inspired Dario Argento as well.
It's possibly.
And
it might.
It was pretty huge in India, apparently. A lot of rip-offs.
What, Evil Dead or Demons?
Evil Dead.
Right. Because I know that some countries banned this film because of the tree rape scene.
Yeah.
Which makes that makes sense to some degree.
Yeah. Well, I think it originally got an X rating. Originally.
Yeah.
And I remember Bruce Campbell saying that it was hard to distribute because of.
No, he said. Yeah, no, you're right. He said that when him and Sam first made this film, it was a pain in the neck to help finance this film. But that's every first film.
Right. Yeah. Every first film is hard, and I would imagine even back then.
Because I've watched some YouTubers or other people said they didn't care for this film because of how it was not the usual. Well, got to start somewhere, otherwise you don't end up anywhere.
Yeah. A lot of famous directors also start in horror. Actually,
exactly. That's how Sam Raimi started. Started with indie horror before he was a big shot.
Right.
Because people think Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies or what was later.
Spider-Man movies. Maybe Drag Me to Hell, but Drag Me to Hell was returned to form for him.
Right, well, true, that's true. Yeah, that's different. I consider I consider that as a different, separate, not close to even Evil Dead content.
Right, but in terms of genre.
Yeah, but you can see maybe some Evil Dead to some degree.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. And also, that car they used when they drive to the cabin, believe it or not, that was used in Spider-Man.
Right, that was kind of a running joke. I think that was... I forget if it was Sam's car or Sam's
something
car.
Like that. I don't know whose car it was.
Something it was always a running joke. It was always an Easter egg ever since.
Yeah, he uses this car in a lot of his films, I guess, as a reminder about where he started, how he turned out to be, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, believe it or not, Bruce Campbell actually suffered a couple injuries during the making of this film.
I can believe it.
Especially when you see him running and limping. That's what made it effective for Ash. How he was so damaged after what he went through.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He even gets just about as damaged as in the second one, I believe.
True. And
I'm not really sure. I think he gets more damaged in the first one.
I guess that's debatable among Evil Dead fans. When we see more damaged,
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's
somebody would have to make a chart of that.
yeah.
Damaged.
And also, if you remember in the movie Donnie Darko, there's a scene where he takes his girlfriend to the movie theaters. They're watching Evil Dead.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it was definitely a big influence on a lot of horror movies going forward, for sure.
Oh yeah, well, especially I never realized I was a kid in the 2000s. Evil Dead had this big cult following. I never realized.
Yeah. A lot of people. Well, that's how they got into Bruce Campbell.
True. Well, also because my intro was Spider-Man before I knew about any of
others. Yeah. Same with me. Is I knew Bruce from being that cameo guy in Spider-Man first, before I even saw Evil Dead.
Right.
Actually, no, that's not entirely true, because I saw Army of Darkness before I saw Spider-Man.
Right. Okay, there you go.
So I actually knew Bruce from Evil Dead, just the more comedic version.
Also, even despite I did mention this on a podcast before in the past and a YouTube video I made, but for the sake of it, as some of you may or may not remember, folks, I met Sam Raimi a year ago.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll put the photo in post.
Yes.
Make sure to put that photo in post.
Yes.
But yeah, that's definitely a cool moment. That's definitely a bucket list type moment.
Sam Raimi was so very kind and very genuine that if he was not a film director, this guy could have been a comedian. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just ignore my dogs outside. They're
sorry, people.
Barking. So, if any of you hear dogs,
don't worry, he's not a possessed dog. He's not a dead dog.
Those are my dogs, the hounds of hell. Okay, yep. And we forgot to mention it is Memorial Day, and in the time of filming this. So
that's true.
Memorial
yes,
Day, everybody.
Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely, our veterans.
Yep. But yeah,
Right.
is there anything else you want to add about Evil Dead 1 before we move on to 2?
No, I think I think we can move on to Evil Dead 2 at this point. Yeah, we covered basically everything.